What's going on, my fellow Jedi and Padawans? Welcome back to another Jedi gaming video. Thank you guys so much for coming back to the channel, and if you guys are new, welcome. Today we're taking you through our last Pale Heart weapon god roll guide with the Axial Lacuna, that nice precision frame solar fusion rifle that has our girl Ikora on it. Going over both of those god rolls, like I said, for PvE, PvP. So starting you guys off, we got our origin trait on this with all those Pale Heart weapons. Final blows with this weapon grant a small amount of super energy. Equipping multiple weapons from this set increase its effect, so dealer's choice is an S tier perk in my opinion. Getting that super energy back is pretty nice, especially when you have 3 of these on. And then like indomitability is the other one that I think is S tier. Getting your abilities back when you get those defeats, absolutely disgusting. So love the combination of those. Plot origin trait wise, dealer's choice is definitely up there. Now when we move on to our PvP side of things, for that enhanced intrinsic trait, I'm going with charge time, so it's a little bit less at 740, which is about a 3/4 of a second. So you do got to prep yourself when you're going around corners shooting this thing, but when you do, it has about 80 range and 80 impact on it, so we are absolutely murking guardians with it. Now for our barrel, I went with small bore on this so we can keep that stability up a little bit, especially when we are getting flinched, if you will, because this thing does have a pretty big uptick when you shoot it. So having that stability feels nice so you don't miss any of those little bolts coming off of the fusion rifle. For me, I went with projection fuse right here for range. You could go something like enhanced battery to give yourself a little bit more impact, but I liked having that 77 range. Like I said, basically have 80 impact, 80 in the range as well, especially when we pair our 3rd and 4th columns together. For the first option, we got 2 kind of contradicting, in my opinion, in this column. We got keep away as our first one, so we get that reload range and accuracy when no targets are close, allowing us to absolutely map guardians, like I said with this, if you choose this option. Your other option is threat detector, so when enemies are in close proximity, you get reload stability and handling, so it's nice to get those little extra juicers, especially that handling, since it is only at 40. Hard to switch on and off of this between like this, your pulse rifle, auto rifle, whatever you're using, but in my opinion, those are your 2 options really. Could go with firmly planted if you wanted, if you're crouching around, but not really how I play. So threat detector or keep away, totally opposite gameplay styles, but both very good perks. Now in the 4th column, I do like the kickstart perk. Definitely is my #1 option. We gain that bonus damage charge rate during slide after we splint, and this is basically procced all the time when we're in Crucible, or at least for me, that's why it kind of counteracts that firmly planted. That's why I don't like that nearly as much, so I use this almost all the time on my PvP versions of fusion rifles. If I can get it on it, definitely feels like the best perk. Other options, you could go something like Frenzy to get that overall increase in damage when you're in combat for a little bit of while. Doesn't get the total increase that you kind of want on this thing, because in my opinion, I like the damage and that charge speed better from Kickstart, but 15% across the board isn't bad. Now the last option for PvP is Vorpal, can help with those guardians in their super. Now we do not need this at all times, just because something like a Song of Flame we can take out with it, those solar supers for sure, but overall it's still going to take maybe an extra shot to get this thing unless you're really up close and personal with it. So that's why I still like having that controlled burst, or I should say that Kickstarter, in my opinion, as its better perk. I would give this thing probably in the middle of the road. There's nothing crazy about it, like a 3-2, 3-3 maybe out of 5 for the Crucible realm. Definitely has better options and is a little bit better in PvE. Now onto the PvE side of things, like I said, a little bit better. We're going with reload as our enhanced intrinsic on this bad boy, because it does have only 10 intrinsically on the reload. Kind of dookie in my personal opinion, so giving us 20 on this feels a little bit better when we do have to reload. Barrel wise, went with hammer forged rifling in that column for that plus 10 to range, giving us 80 impact, 70 in range, 51 in that stability. Didn't really need the other side of the perks, if you will, to have handling or stability cranked out, which is what the other barrels really do. So I went with hammer forged to get as much range as we could. Now for me, you got two options in this category. First off is the ionized battery. Gives you increase in that magazine size, does also tank our reload speed a little bit, so we're having 8 in the magazine, which does help with our third column perk as well as our fourth column perk, but we are losing that reload speed. Your other option is liquid coil. We do have a little bit slower charge time, but increase to damage, so we're getting that reload speed back up, so it's at 40 with this instead of 20. We only have 6 in the magazine instead of that 8 like we did before, but that charge time does go up a little bit. Not that it's nothing too crazy, but it still adds a little bit of a delay, so you got to choose which one you like between this and ionized. Third column, or reconstruction, is what I was talking about. This weapon reloads itself at an improved rate up to double the capacity, so we can have about 12 or 13 in this when we have the 6 in the magazine, but when we have 8, we have anywhere between 16 and 18, so totally up to you. Get about 5 to 6 more shots in it with that reconstruction, as well as the ionized battery to get ourselves that nice 8 in the magazine, but again, totally up to you. I do also like a demolitionist in the third column right here, so we get those grenade energy on final defeats, plus when we need to reload this, we can throw out that grenade, so it pairs well with the fourth column, but I like reconstruction a little bit more for this column. So like I was saying, that fourth column, this is what I would go as my option. Landing every shot in a burst grants increased weapon damage, reduced charge time for an improved duration. So this is definitely the goated perk in the fourth column. Pairs good with both that demo and reconstruction in the third, but I think that reconstruction is the best. You get 16, 18 shots with that controlled burst in there. Absolutely disgusting for putting out some crazy damage on those bosses, champions, whatever it may be. You could also go with incandescent if you are feeling the ad clear side of this, so something like a demo with incandescent would allow you to spam your grenade pretty often, plus it pairs with that solar synergy scorch pretty well compared to some of the other one, especially if you have something like reconstruction. Like I said, those 16 shots with incandescent is absolutely disgusting for spreading that scorch, as well as that ignitions that you get from the scorch. Now I would say last but not least for me, you got a couple weird little options right here. If in my opinion, Frenzy would be my first one to go with, because it does give us just 15% damage across the board, but you do got something like Vorpal weapon as well, giving you that nice increase in damage on this thing against those bosses and vehicles. Gives us a little stability, but not as easy to proc as, like I said, Frenzy is across the board, with the lapse option being that surrounded. If you are near enemies, you're getting that crazy juicy 35-45% damage on this thing, with everything else procced as well, so it is pretty disgusting to have this on. But I do think, like I said, controlled burst with that reconstruction is easily the god roll 5 out of 5 for me. I would give this thing about a 4-4, 4-5 inside of the PvE realm. Definitely good, especially with that reconstruction controlled burst. You can put out some pretty gnarly damage. Like I said, rapid fire, those little heavy bursts also do a little bit more damage, but nothing too crazy in my personal opinion. This precision is very good for both of those rounds, so hopefully y'all can get this crafted. We are done with the Pale Heart weapon guides for y'all. There was a bunch of these weapons, 8 of them I believe total for that, and now we're going to get on to our Nessus and failsafe weapons with all of those Vex themed weapons that we have been getting from the Breach executables, stuff like that from the story. So be prepared for those to come out. Don't be afraid to hit that bell and subscribe to the channel if you would like. Helps me out, helps the channel out, plus you guys won't miss out on any of those notifications for these kinds of guides and builds as well. So appreciate you guys for coming back again. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.